a solution architect. He's focusing more on security, Asian leader. So what we did is like Leo Silva, myself, and Yongkang is organizing the security user group. The purpose of this user group is to generate the security, because security is everyone's responsibility, right? Like whoever maybe they are like developers or operations, infrastructure team, it is everyone's responsibility. So our purpose is educate the security, more focused on the cloud security and also the ecosystem across everyone. This is the purpose. In case if you would like to talk or if you wanted to have like any feedback or any other things, just reach out to us, Leo De Silva, Gobinathan, and Yongkang at any time. And today, Chirag also supporting. If you say Chirag was there, this is like another fourth guy. Yeah, thank you. So if you are any question, just let me know before we start the topic. And thank you, Rakuten and Yongkang, for organizing the things so smoothly. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing, very much appreciate to offer and also provide us the food, and also thanks to our sponsors to provide us stickers and also phone holders. I will show you shortly in my session, and I will introduce a little bit more of myself later. I don't want to spend too much time here. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us to learn security. Security is so important. I was actually recently, I got some email from my phone company say your data was breached from by ransomware attacks. My insurance company was attacked. So definitely security, cyber security is so important. Let's learn a little bit more of the cyber security. Yeah, thank you. So I think our first topic is Raga to talk about. Is that you, Boomi?
Yeah.
Oh, that's you. Sorry. Yeah.
Introduce myself. I don't want to introduce 2 times. Maybe while I'm talking, I'll introduce myself. Yeah. So between okay. So there are like 3 topics today. One is cloud native security and evaluation, how to secure the cloud, those kind of stuff. The second one is from the EKS Anywhere, like how to protect the EKS in the on-premises, also how to extend to the cloud. The third topic is more kind of like backing up the containers and securing the containers. Okay. Okay. So about myself, I'm Bhuminathan. I'm having nearly like 15 years of experience in cloud and data center technologies. I help like Cisco solutions on AWS, Azure, and GCP. I'm more kind of like a regional cloud architect, more focused on security and connectivity and observability. So this is the quick introduction about myself. So now let's get into the topic. Okay. So where I come from now? Any guess like where I landed, like where I come from now today? Yes, Las Vegas. I just landed like 3 hours ago. Uh, so let me quick snap like what was AWS reInvent also, right? I think everybody knows AWS reInvent is kind of like a conference, 5-day conference where AWS invites community heroes, community builders, and a lot of people, customers, partners to talk about the new innovations and their best practices. It was amazing. So in the AWS reInvent, the higher focus given for data and security, because future innovation is going to be driven by data. Why I say data? We are here. How we are here? Via an application, right? But with an like you guys know the link via Meetup. That's an application. Either via LinkedIn. So everything is connected. When you're connected with your phone, you're able to order food. You're able to do anything. So in short, when you're connected, what it generates numerous data, right? N number of data. So with the help of data, what we can do? Anything, right? Like with the help of technology, we are solving a lot of problems. That's how like hybrid work comes into the picture, right? Hybrid work is there. Things like a lot of new innovation comes with the help when there is a problem. Right now we have like enormous of data. So AWS reInvent is more focused on data only. How we are going to process the data, using the data, how we are going to do the new innovation. So while you are doing the data focus, there are three things we need to focus. One is the data needs to do the high process, the computing. The computing needs to be there for data, right? The second one is the data is secure. That's where like the cloud security meetup, this kind of community meetup comes and educating to you, keeps on telling like what is the importance of data, how we can secure that, how we can protect that. And is when it comes to data, how we are easily accessible. That's where like machine learning, AML, data analytics tools are happening. So these are the three topics in AWS reInvent. Everybody like the keynote speaker, starting from like AWS CEO, CTO, Vice President, everybody stressing about these four topics only. So now let's get started. Okay, this is the agenda. So first time, and last time I asked both because I do like a lot of talks in the community. I asked the guys, hey, do you want me to go with kind of like a flow of presentation or the discussion? Most people like Sachin and other lot of people told they love the way of discussion because that's where like a community, right? It's kind of sharing each other. So that's what I'm going to do. So the first one is discussion and understanding the cloud native risk. The second one is security frameworks for cloud native, and third is more focused solution I'm going to talk about. Okay, and the demo, if the time is there, I will be happy to do the demo as well. Okay, so let's get started with the discussion. Before the discussion, I would like to ask a question. Microservices based architecture dash the attack surface and expose applications to new vulnerabilities and threats. What is your response? Okay, I need that explanation because this is the same question I used in one of the community. Maybe you guys may say correct answer. Yeah, one second.
The number of microservices that you have in an architecture is much larger than one, right? Because of that, your surface attack gets expanded, and therefore A should be the answer.
Correct. Yeah. Any other response? So yeah, one second.
Okay. So typically, microservices architecture, right? So you are putting under a cluster. That cluster should be secure. If one namespace is compromised, that can be exposed or expose entire cluster. So that's where it is always better to secure your, within your workload. At the same time, your design should be part of your security. Security should be part of your design. So that's how you can, for your question, it increases if you are not securely designed.
So maybe let me put across in the simple narrative way, right? So you have seen like 4 organizers, right? Like Chirag, myself, Yongkang, and Leo de Silva. So if you wanted to secure 4 of the people, is the effort is less, or consider the organizer is only one guy, Leo de Silva. Where is the effort involves more? When more and more microservices, that's where the complexity increases. As the trade-off, it sorts the application how can I say, like the application acceleration, the innovation goes. That's where like the cloud native comes into the picture. At the same time, cloud native also we need to focus more on the security. So previously in the data center, we know where the traffic goes. For example, in the traffic, we know internet, there will be a firewall, then load balancer, then it comes to the web application, then app, then DB. So we know the flow. Since we know the flow, what we can do, we can control the flow. So in the internet, in the cloud era, is it easy to predict the flow? No, not that much easy. It involves like a lot of complexity, right? That's where we are coming to the picture, how to secure the things. So I think this one I already provided you overview. If you have any questions about AWS reInvent, you wanted to understand what's happened in the reInvent, maybe I love to answer before I switch on to the other topics. You went to the videos. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about the cloud native security. Okay. So before we talk about the cloud native security, we need to make sure. Okay. I'll ask a question. Is the what are the 4 key pillars of cloud native security? It's 4. Generally, Kubernetes calls that it's a 4C. What is the 4C? Just share, because it's a community learning, right? It's not like okay, how it relates to cloud native security cost optimization, because this is like a totally different trade-off, right? Security and cost off. Generally, if you go to a security team, they always say like it's not it completed, something like related to the cost. Yongkang, you all also can, if you wanted to share. What are the 4 C's? Just share like that. Yeah, just try. Everyone like that. Okay. Yeah, partially correct. Maybe I'll give a clue. Okay. One C is correct. It's top C. 4 C's of security.
Yeah,
of course, consistency is needed. Everything
over there.
Yeah. Maybe can you please pass to me? Yeah. Yeah. Anybody maybe raise the hand, because I want to.
Sorry, it's something to do with the container code, cloud cluster, cluster.
Yeah.
All 4.
All 4. That's correct, right? See, I'm not saying anything new. You guys already in the field, you are learning that. So the first one is, it starts from the code. We need to secure the code line base. Once we secure the code, what is the next one in the cloud native space? Clusters. Sorry, containers. To secure the containers, because that's where the code runs or the microservices runs. Once we secure the container, what is next? Cluster. No, code is the first one. I just take from the bottom to top approach. So code, you guys know. Container, no. Then cluster. See, you are answering. So okay, cluster is there. So until the 3 portion, it's agnostic. What is it meaning? It can run in the on-premises, same security standards needs to be followed. If you are running the cloud, same security standards needs to follow. The final one is cloud. That could be cloud or data center. Data center, we already know how to secure. But it may not be like whatever the traditional, it's not that much effective. So cloud, right? So now let's see from the cloud alone, okay? Cloud point of view alone. So how to secure the cloud? Because other 3 things I'm going to talk in the further one, and Raghavendra and Yongkang also going to talk about that, those 3 things. That's right, Yongkang? And he's going to do the little demo also. You are also going to do the demo? Okay, awesome. So maybe I'll skip the demo. Just let me know if I'm running out of the time. Okay. My question to you guys is, how do we secure the cloud? Because cloud native is 4 C's, right? So first, let's start from the top-down approach. How do we secure the cloud? Firewall, ACL. Maybe can you tell me some because it's kind of discussions, right? Yeah, anybody, yeah. Because so far you guys are amazing. You guys told like the 4 C's, cloud native, and everyone educating, right? Because when I start the session, I see like most of the people come from work. I know it's little tired. I don't want to make you like the same presentation. This can be available in YouTube later stage, but like try to do with like more interactive, so you can also learn something new. Yeah. So again, the question is, how do we secure the cloud, which is like first to see and first key pillar of cloud native security? Yeah, I just need like step-by-step approach. So consider this is the cloud. Okay, my laptop is cloud. How do we secure? Awesome. Identity. Maybe like step by step. First is identity. It will like because who can see my laptop? Who can access my laptop? What policies? It's part of identity. Awesome. Network, because via the network only. Awesome. What else? To identity, network. Then scanner. That's awesome. But we can use that will be more towards code level, right? Or container level, cluster level. Let's take from the top level approach. Cloud alone. So consider you are having your laptop and you are having like your workload in the cloud, and it's like a cloud native workload. How do you secure that? So one tool like identity and infrastructure, ransomware. That's where like cloud is the most exposing element, right? We need to secure that. That's where I'm trying to expose. When we talk about cloud native security, we need to focus all four things. It's good. It's kind of like it's making more energetic. Yeah, hack the light. But we are there. We can be like resilience. Okay. But between like the mic is audible. Okay. So let me tell you the step-by-step approach for cloud, right? Maybe I'll tell one of the example. How you pass to the Rakuten. What are the points for there while you're coming to the Rakuten? Like while you're coming to the Rakuten, the checkpoints. Just tell me like step by step. Okay, you landed to the capital square, right? So after you landed to the consider capital square is cloud, and this room is the container or code. To come across this, what are the checkpoints you have? Just security clearance. That's like what is the first step you face? You see Chirag, my friend. What he provided? Access code. Is he asked you anything or just okay, get the access code? Okay, maybe you guys already know him. Yeah, Chirag is like super popular. No, I won't say like Chirag is bad because if I wanted to say one guy who is more obsessed with the community is the Chirag. So most of the people already know him. That may be the reason he just provided. But generally, you tell me, Chirag, how did you give the access card? You just like gave to whoever people like walking on the street, or you asked them?
Basically, I guide them so that easily they reach the destination.
Okay, awesome. So you asked them, right, like, where they are going.
Yes.
Did you ask? Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, what they answered?
So yeah, I asked the question, are you here for AWS security meetup? They said yes. I said, welcome. Door is open. Back door is open.
Not at the back door. Both of them you provided the access with the access code.
Yeah.
The first checkpoint was before the lift, right? So what is the next checkpoint? Awesome. First you get the access, you are checking. What is the next checkpoint? Like that. And just focus only on the checkpoint. That's where the security comes into the picture. One security layer we understand. I'll try to negate the security in the okay. Flow 29. Yeah, that's what like flow 29. Is that possible for you to go to like flow 28 or like 30? No, flow 29. Once you reach it flow 29, do you see Rakuten people? They help you to enter in, right? Another checkpoint. Actually, the floor is another checkpoint. There are 3 checkpoints now. So once you come to the like inside the build, do you need to go anywhere? You are allowed to hear. If you see, Yongkang and other organizations also help you to come into the picture. So just like our normal day-to-day life itself, right? We see 4 checkpoints. So checkpoint 1, Chirag. Chirag is kind of like internet security. So it's kind of like DNS. He asked you, are you going to AWS security user group? What is that? That's a domain name. Okay. For example, if you're opening like uber.com, that's a DNS, right? That will be like a lot of malicious happens. So he acts as like a DNS security. He helps you to forward the traffic to the right one. Okay. Next one, checkpoint at the left. So what it is help you to move on. It's moved to the level 29. That's why like the content delivery network, security, or the access, like landing to the cloud comes into the picture. That could be the Uber website hosted in the AWS or a data center. That's why like 1129. Okay. Now you see DNS security. Another one is like the CGN. The next one is once you are coming, the Rakuten people were there. That's where like a real firewall comes into the picture. Even you come to the level 29, if the Rakuten people thinks you are a stranger, be able to come inside. Yeah. So Rakuten, what is helps is they help you to do north-south traffic. What is the north-south traffic? You can either enter into the building or go out. Got it, right? So that's where like Rakuten, that's where firewall. Sorry. If Chirag will allow you to wear the hologram, he will just, hey buddy, to meet you, move away. That's what he will say. If you are like real security person, yeah, that's what, like all the identity is handled in the next level also. That's a good question. I'm going to answer that also. Okay, so whatever we seen, DNS security and CDN security and then firewall security. So what else? Rakuten entered. What is the fourth step? We see like 4 checkpoints, right? What is the fourth one? Meeting. Okay, you are directly, I told you this is the application, whatever the yellow color is application. So you are seeing the application by, so somebody, Yongkang, Chirag and myself, like the organizer helped you to enter. Like, this is for the east-west traffic, to access the application, to control the east-west application, and also to avoid the lateral things when comes to this picture. So to access the application, see how many steps you need to come across. Give more focus on cloud to secure our containers, code, and clusters. So now you are clear. Let me make it in the technical point of view. First is the infrastructure protection in the firewall. We need to focus on north-south. How we can do that? With the help of access control list. You told, right? We need to tell this is the guy, and then DNS layer. It's like where it is there. Then identity and access protection. Chirag has helped you, right? He provided you the access code. That access code is needed to enter the. So once you are coming here, we have verified our own verification to check, oh, this guy is already registered for AWS user group security, or this guy is not registered. Then only you are here, right? So once the infrastructure security is complete, security check is completed, again the security group NACL comes to the picture. The micro segmentation, everything comes into the picture. This is more towards cloud. Now let's see about how are we going to secure the cloud, like there is other 3 C's. Okay. Any questions on the first 3 C's? Sorry, the first C, because that's very important. Once you able to secure your cloud, you're able to do things. Is that correct, Yongkang? Yeah. Well, Yongkang and Raghavendra going to do deep dive on and the code level security, because I don't want to do duplicate on that. That's where I'm giving more focus on the cloud level. Any questions to understand that? So whatever I told you, right? This is called defense and depth in security. This is called like trust. Okay, don't trust anyone. Just do the verification and each and every layer, wherever the people don't trust. And do the policy, upper policy comes into the picture. So if I wanted to convert that policy with the AWS one, anybody want to map the same thing chronology with AWS services or any services you know with like an exact application name. Maybe DNS firewall security. What is the service that comes to your mind? Awesome. Route 56. Yeah, that's Route 53. I'm sorry, I'm still in jet lag. Just landed. Sorry. IAM. Awesome. Route 66. What is that? 53, right? I'm sorry. Route 53 and IAM else. Awesome. WAP is okay, great. PPC. PPC is the Rakuten building. Okay. CloudWatch is 53. Of course, that's important. That's what my next topic. Okay. Security group. Okay, my question is, whatever we discussed the chronology, is the checkpoint with the AWS services mapping. Focused on AWS. So told. Okay. That's what I'm asking for the top Europe. Correct.
If it is a load balancer, that comes to VPC. Then VPC tied with NACL, then security group, that goes to your EC2. Within EC2, you might have deployed certain security tools that might be evaluating each inbound rule. Certain tools like monitoring inbound packet inspection Once that is allowed, it reaching to your application, and your application will go back to user page and shows up, this is where you're landed.
Okay.
So this
awesome. Awesome. This
Thanks,
is what I'm going to explain. Can you give like a big round of applause? What's your name? What is your name?
Can you use this?
Actually, I'm not able to use this. I'm more comfortable with this.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to complete in next 15 minutes.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm sorry for today. I'm like very tired. Yeah, I know that works very much better. And last time also people told, but I'm very tired today. I'm sorry. Thank you for the suggestion. Hey, what's your name, by the way? Ashok. Hey, let's give a big round of applause to the Ashok. This is the exact flow I was trying to explain. Okay. So since he already explained, let's move on to the next one. Okay. Okay. This is now out of 4 C's. What are the 1 C we are strong now? We are strong now with the cloud, right? So now, if anybody asks you in your company or like the customers or from your side, you know how to secure the cloud native. First C is clear. It's very important. Now let's see on the other C's. If you see, the other C's are here. The other C starts from the developer laptop. Like while accessing the like a code or anything on the building, you need to secure your laptop. Consider your laptop is not secured or your access is exposed. That's why like a lot of ransomware attacks comes into the picture, right? And malicious attacks comes into the picture. So you need to secure that. Second step, the Git-based repository. That's where your source code is there, right? The code. Desktop and GitHub, the code is mapped. Okay, you need to secure that. Third one is retrieval of dependencies. For example, some of your codes or applications or packages that might require some of the internet dependencies. Okay, that's the third one. Fourth one is the image registry. So sometimes you will be building the cloud native, that is the container image, and sometimes you will be downloading some other thing. Last question to you guys. How many of you here are code developers who build the images? Okay. Maybe can you tell like a high level what are the securities you do with while building the image? Just try. It's okay.
I'll just try because I mostly write the Docker file rather than thinking so much.
You write the Docker file, you put that, what happens?
As in mostly I will just deploy all the Docker container on the Kubernetes platform. But in terms of security wise, it's more towards the deployment process rather than how is it secure. Because when we put inside Kubernetes, I mean from outside, there's no one who can directly access into the cluster, and from a developer point of view at least.
Okay. So if you decode, because he did not mention that word, but whatever he told is correct. Thank you for you. He told like just 2 things. One is the vulnerability assessment. Third one is the access. That's what he did, right? So we do anything on the image. Your operations team, like DevSecOps team, will do any vulnerability. Like some of the people told the code scanner, and you already told that, Ashok. Then the fifth one is unsecured orchestration platform. Where are you going to deploy the image? Is it like secured? What is the version? It's up to the patch. It's all the things, right? Like what are the components in the cluster? etcd or control plane or data plane. It's fully secured or not. Or all the things need to be done. The sixth one is host container relationship. Any guess what is that? Awesome, Ashok. Again, thank you. So this is important because host and container relationship is very important because somebody told CloudWatch, right? Monitoring. What are the things you able to visible, then only you can control. If you cannot visible, right? For example, I'm able to see that 50 people here, right? If I know them, then only I can control. If anybody is sitting visible somewhere hiding, right? I won't talk to them. So visibility is important. To do the visibility, to do the better control, we need to understand the host container relationship. That's where we need to like install like the core, daemon core, and whatever like dependencies we need to do there. And most of the times, people do because the security hope in that level itself. Okay, so this is the another one. So last one is rapid rate of change. What is it meaning? It's like simple one. Because when we are doing like microservices, 5 minutes. Okay. This like doing like multiple teams together, right? So it may not be like not proper track of changes. This is also lead. The next one is microservices communication. Everything is communicating via API. And right now we are doing more towards serverless also. We need to do security in the API layer and the serverless layer. The first, the ninth one is inter-process communication. This is also like extension of the same thing. And then 10th one is increase the number of databases. So you guys can think, hey, Boomi, you told cloud native security is only 4C. Cloud, we understand. And cluster, we are working on that. And code also we understand. But why the database comes into the picture? Any questions? Okay, the latest biggest thread, I don't want to call, maybe you guys go and Google it. That thread exposed because of the database secrets. You know that, right? Because most of the times, as the developers or the operations, we use the same database password. That can be like easily scrutinized. And one of the big company, because I suppose not to mention that company here, it's like they're kind of like closing the things. It's because only thing they did the security risk in the database. So that's why like the HashiCorp Vault comes into the picture, Amazon, the KMS and other steps are come into the picture. Okay.
Regarding the database, you say everyone all share the same username and password, right? Because from my personal experience, what I understand is we have a database team, DBA team. They will set up multiple users and password, some with administrative privileges or some with just a read write of the tables. And they don't have scheme access. So I think from that, instead of just using HashiCorp Vault to secure the password, I think the database, as long as you set the rollback correctly, I think it should be secure enough from my perspective at least.
Okay. There are two things. The password is static and you are providing the role-based access control. It is not fully secure. Role-based access control and the password needs to be dynamic. That's where like it's fully secure. So right now, if you are doing like a role-based access control, it focuses on only the off portion. The password, because you know that, right? Consider if I ask you to set the password or if you want to generate the password, what do? You know whatever you remember. It's not dynamic, right? So it's easily hackable. And like the dynamic and storage. No. The where you are going to store, how it's going to be tracked, who has the control. It's like one of the product is HashiCorp Vault. You told like you are already using HashiCorp Vault. Yeah, that's why like you are saying it's more secure. It's kind of like more de facto standards now. It's
Maybe.
not a good HashiCorp Vault.
I can add maybe AWS Secret is also the same kind of thing, that auto rotation and all those things we can set up so that the password or secrets will not be present in the environment file or nearby the code. But yeah, we can include this AWS SDK to call the secrets and then control it or offload it for the purpose specific service.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Chirag, for adding up. The last one is application layer attacks. That one we already discussed. Since I'm running out of time, I'm going to stop in next 3 to 4 minutes. Before that, let me make sure you understand the etiquette flow. The 4 C's of cloud native. Cloud, you understand what are the checkpoints, where the firewall comes into the picture, where the IAM comes into the picture, where the zero trust, where the north south, where the east west, micro segmentation lateral, and other 3 C's. This is the 11 points we need to secure. So this is done by Gartner. The source is Gartner. Okay. So if you are doing that, like all the whatever we discussed, right? Then we can say we are getting started our journey to security, because nobody can say I'm fully secure. Got it, right? Okay. I'm going to ask like final question. So now previously you think like cloud native security is kind of like a more struggle, but after the session it's kind of like more interactive and I also explain with some examples, right? Do you see, is it still the struggle or like or you got some visibility, right? How to do the mitigate? Where are the checkpoints? Okay, this is the question. Dash in the Kubernetes environments are the leading cause of vulnerabilities that increase security risk and in some cases lead to breaches. See why? Okay, so I'm going to skip the demo portion because of I need to give the time to other folks also. Maybe in my next one, I'm going to do like a demo for what are the products I wanted to see, like the other three C's, right? The containers and clusters and what else? The code. I'm going to do the demo. But for the answer is misconfiguration. That's what it leads to the solution demo. I'm going to do that. Okay, thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, you just reach out to me YouTube. I'm happy to there. Anyway, I'll be staying also. If you have any questions later to the cloud native, you can pass it to me. The next one is Raghavendra comes to the picture. Yeah, thank you. And okay. So Raghavendra is going to talk about on EKS section in the on-premises. It's the three remaining C's. Is that correct, Raghavendra? We are going to focus on the other three remaining C's. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chirag. Thank you, Yongkang. Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
Thanks, Boomi. I think you have given a good context about the cloud security, the overall, the perimeter that we have to focusing on. What we will do in this particular session is how some of the Kubernetes best practices needs to be implemented when it comes to the security standpoint. And also, when it comes to some of the Kubernetes flavors like Amazon EKS, which is typically running the same EKS into the on-prem model. So whenever we are trying to install Amazon EKS as an on-prem administrator, there are certain things when it comes to security. There are some of the design considerations that we have to keep in focus, followed by the data protection. So that's what we are going to discuss about in next few minutes. Introduction. This is Raghavendra, and I work as a principal consultant or technical director in Delhi MC organization. And I do come with roughly around 20 years of IT experience. And I have certified predominantly on all top 3 major cloud, including the Kubernetes, and I have certified on some of the VMware and our own Delhi MC hardwares as well. That's a QR code for the LinkedIn profile. I think you can probably scan the code and send the LinkedIn connection. We can probably chat if you have any specific question on Amazon EKS or how to deploy some of these Kubernetes distros on the on-prem data centers. I think I have maxed out on the number of connections. It's already 5,000 plus, but if you can still connect, well, good. I think, yeah, no, I think they're trying to put some bar. So if it is unless you subscribe for a premium, you will get 60,000. So if you are not subscribed, then I think it is 5,000 odd. Okay, let's proceed. So as I just mentioning, right? So in this particular session, we are going to talk about Amazon EKS. So when I say Amazon EKS, it is Amazon EKS Anywhere, which is typically running the same EKS clusters on your data center. And why do we need to even run Amazon EKS as an on-prem cluster? Any specific questions? Why should we need to? Because if this particular service is available for me in Amazon Cloud, Why should I need to download that particular distro and run it on-prem? Okay.
You don't want to run this workload. Maybe it's a high critical to the business that you want to secure and have a regulatory limitation that it should not run on public shared platform and it should be dedicated at your on-premise. Maybe you bring on your EKS Anywhere device and deploy into on-premise and secure it with all your controls and guardrails.
Absolutely.
That could be one.
Exactly. I think the slide predominantly answers some of the critical benefits. One is, yes, I mean, you can drastically bring down the cost because you are actually running this particular cluster on your servers, in the sense within your data center. So that is one part of it. So you can predict what will be the cost for running this particular cluster on-prem. The second benefit is enhanced performance, because when you run this particular cluster within your data center, you can actually tune your network, tune your security settings, or for an example, bandwidth. I mean, typically comes via VLAN configuration, and you can probably allocate the required bit at the data center level. But the main important point is risk mitigation. So as we all know, Kubernetes, it's an open source version of the distro. I mean, as a platform, anybody can download, run the applications or the microservices. But it comes with challenges. Because it's open source, though it gets scanned, we don't know if at all if there are any vulnerabilities at a cloud level or at a cluster level. So to make myself secured enough, I'll still run the same Amazon EKS Anywhere within on-prem to mitigate the risk. And how can I run that? By creating all the compute network and storage. And once I have that particular compute network and storage, I spin up the virtual machines and install the entire on EKS Anywhere as a distro. So one, I'm reducing the overall risk, and I also connect this particular EKS Anywhere to the AWS console as well. Though it is running on-prem, I still register it to AWS console. There is probably few benefits by connecting it to AWS console, though the cloud is running on-prem. Those benefits are agility. Example, if I also have Amazon EKS and also EKS Anywhere, I can probably put a same controls across on-prem and also on the clusters running in cloud. And second thing is simplified operations. I need not have multiple monitoring tools. The registering of my on-prem cluster to cloud, I can use CloudWatch. One of our member told that much, right? So I can use CloudWatch and monitor the clusters running on-prem and locally as well. And accelerate innovation. I can actually lift and shift the containers that are running on-prem. Tomorrow, if customer says that, or some of our business team says that, okay, I can run this particular application in cloud, I can lift and shift at a click of a button. So some of these benefits that we can actually get at the moment when I register my on-prem cluster to AWS console. So what we will do is, I would probably not complicate the things. This is what we are going to achieve in next few minutes. What we are trying to do is we are planning to bring one cloud native application deployment on EKS Anywhere. We will not do a live demo because it takes a lot of time to spin up the virtual machines, install the clusters, but I do have an interactive demo and you will certainly like that as well. So this is a application. We call it like View Socks, right? So this is the application. And if you see, this is completely a pure play cloud native application. So you can see that the application is connected to a load balancer and it is being integrated to ingress controller. And we have a front end, which is actually developed with Node.js. And we have all the microservices. These are all the microservices developed with Java and .NET framework, like order management, payment gateway, users, catalog, cart, so on and so forth. And it is actually integrated with the databases as well. You can see it is Mongo, MySQL. We also have Redis for the session management. This is the application layer where we also have some of the workflows like shipping, queuing, so on and so forth. So this is typically like a shopping application where you can log in and purchase different socks, color socks for your shoes, right? So that's what this application is all about. And this application is going to run on-prem in the sense like compute network and storage. It can be vendor neutral, right? We typically package EKS Anywhere as an appliance and we sell it to our customers. And most of the vendors like HPE or IBM, for an example, so they have their own way of promoting this particular clusters to the customers. So giving the context about this particular application, what we do is, this is the overall architecture that we are going to discuss in next few minutes. For an example, this is what we were talking about. So it is an application built with all these frameworks. So what happens is, the moment when I have compute network and storage, we are going to create one of the virtual machine and spin up the cluster here, EKS Anywhere, and deploy the application and integrate that with the AWS console with the security practices into consideration. Anybody can actually deploy this, I mean, with the help of Terraform script or Ansible script at a click of a button, but are we taking enough security policies and the practices to deploy this or not is what we are going to discuss as well. Any questions so far? Okay. So the first step, what we do is, we are going to create a management within on-prem. So it can be a Ubuntu machine, it can be, let's say, it can be even RHEL as well, that runs on your vSphere or on the VMware stack or on the Open stack as well. So it completely up to us. I mean, how to run that particular management. It can be even your laptop as well, because we just need the management binaries. So what we do in the first step is, whenever we are creating a virtual machines, either for the management part of it and also to run the cluster, we need to use the vault. Vault is the one of the important aspects when we need to spin up the clusters. And there are tools like HashiCorp Vault or CyberArk, where we are going to ingest all the security for the virtual machines and also for the applications or databases. And we are going to use those secrets in the YAML file here. So if you see here, right, to spin up those virtual machines, I'm using a vault engine, and that particular vault is integrated in my code here, so that these username and password is not available to any other administrator until unless I have an access to that secret engine. And do we have this particular secret engine in AWS? Yes, we do have. It is called KMS, right? So we have all the certificate management systems as well. So the first part is ensure that we have a strong vault, something like HashiCorp Vault or CyberArk for provisioning the virtual machine. The moment when we provision the virtual machine, the next thing is we need to install some of the VM scanning tools, because everybody are really good at scanning the code, scanning the containers, you scan the clusters, it's all good. But what about your virtual machines? Because this is not managed by any cloud provider. This is actually managed by you day in, day out. So you need to take care of your virtual machines as well, in the sense, are we patching them regularly? Do they have any vulnerabilities the moment when we download any of the packages? Because if I'm a Unix administrator or a Linux, yum update, right? Blindly it goes and updates my entire operating system. What if it is going to have any vulnerabilities the moment when I update my operating system or not? So that's where some of the tools like Rapid7 or Qualys or Nextpose. So these are all some of the open source tools that are available for the VM administrators or the server administrators that you can use it. And you will see, if at all, if there are any vulnerabilities in the operating system level, at the virtual machine level. We are not even touching the cluster. So we are still at the ground level here. So we will understand what are all the issues at the virtual machine level. And this particular agent integration can be done by attaching some of these key authorities, nothing but the SSH keys, and also integrating to that agent. So this can be codified with Terraform or Ansible. The moment when I spin up Terraform for virtual machine creations on-prem, I can call this agent installation as well with an Ansible. So this is another important aspect that we have to keep in mind. And the third part is we are trying to get into the storage level, because now we are only focusing on the compute. The next thing is storage, because I think Boomi already covered on the network. You have a this specific VPC or VLAN gateways that you can cover. So this is at the storage level, because every virtual machine needs storage for creating the persistent volumes, right? I mean, because if at all, if your application is a stateful application, it needs to store the data. It needs to store all the database records, and it can get stored with the help of persistent volumes. So Dell EMC as a company, we have our own storage box where we can actually integrate our storage box to EKS Anywhere cluster. And within my pod, I have to install CSI driver. Anybody aware what is CSI? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Hardware drives into the container. It's a software between the container and post hardware.
Yeah, correct. So typically CSI is container storage interface. It is one of the integration platform that is available or certified by CNCF, right? So this CSI driver needs to be installed if you want to use your data center storage. It can be Dell EMC storage, it can be Hitachi, it can be IBM storage or HPE, right? Because this is vendor neutral CSI driver. It's typically a driver to consume your on-prem or data center specific storage, create the volumes and map these volumes as mount points to EKS Anywhere. So that if at all, if you have any of your stateful pods or stateful applications, it can use these persistent volumes and dump the data. So when we create the CSI, the benefit is everything is going to come with TLS and SSL certificates. So there is no any data that is going to get exposed even for the storage administrators. And the fourth point is another way of securing the entire cluster is by integrating your cluster with the balancer. So this is typically, you can use HA proxy. There are a lot of load balancers that are available. And for the example for today's conversation, we are using Metal LB, which is Metal Load Balancer. So one thing is with this particular deployment, we have to create all the PSP. PSP is nothing but pod security policy. So whenever we are deploying the pods on-prem, some of these security policies needs to be taken into consideration before I go ahead and integrate that with the load balancer. So with load balancer, I will see how many sessions are coming up. Is there any spike in the session rate? Is there any errors in the overall load balancer activities? So this will help me to monitor the load balancer with monitoring tools like CloudWatch, Neuralink, Dynatrace, so that, if at all, if there is any spike, as an administrator, I have to figure out why there is such a huge spike in the web application hits, why there are so many errors. Is there somebody trying to, do some cross-site scripting or DDoS attack? So this is how it will be able to help you to actually mitigate the risk as quickly as possible. And the second thing is each and every pod is something we are going to define the security policy. I think while Boomi was talking about, right? The benefit of using security policy for pods is that not every host within the cluster can access that pod. Like if I have, let's say, 5 nodes, and if my pods are running it according to a particular namespace, the other pods running in a different namespace cannot access this. So I can actually mitigate the access to the other pods. And also I can route the traffic according to a specific, port or specific host name. So that's the benefit of using security policies for the pod. This can be defined at a pod level. This can be defined at a cluster namespace level or holistically at a cluster level as well. So it's up to us. How do you want to define that? The fifth part is TLS certificate integrations. I think the first question what Boomi was talking about is the microservices, right? More and more we use microservices. It is going to give a lot of surface for the attackers to go hack or bring down the services with the DDoS kind of stuff. But how can we safeguard that? I think that's where the TLS certificates is going to come into picture. I think when I say TLS certificates, right, we are going to use the SSL. Previously it was called SSL certificates. Now we actually call it as a TLS certificate. So TLS certificates is where we have a public key and a private key for all the communication, either with your host or with an end user, right? I think it is also integrated with your browser level activities as well. I think if you type HTTPS, which means that it is powered by the TLS certificates behind the scene. So if you see here, we are actually using RSA private keys, and we are actually using the VM level SSL certificates, pod level SSL certificates as well. And we have integrated that with the volumes, nothing but the storage volume that we saw in the previous slide. So if you see in this screenshot, right, all the components of the microservices application or the cloud native application, like cards, nothing but item card, the catalog, orders, RabbitMQ session, everything is actually bound to a storage volume, and it is actually having the specific access mode here, and it is integrated with the applicable private keys here. So this is probably the fifth point that any AKS administrator need to keep in mind if he or she is trying to deploy EKS Anywhere on-prem. And this is the application. The view socks, not view works. And the sixth point is once the application deployment is done, we are actually going slightly up, which is nothing but the cluster level. So at the cluster level, what we do is we integrate that particular cluster with cluster role bindings and also with RBAC. I think cluster role bindings and RBAC is not a new feature. It is part and parcel of any Kubernetes distribution. It's available in on-prem and also in the public cloud landscape as well. So what we have to do is the moment when we integrate with some of the CNI, anybody aware? I mean, have you started working with CNIs? Yeah. So CNIs are nothing but container network interface. So with the help of container network interface, we integrate that with AWS console, and some of these cluster role bindings and security policies will be applied as well. So this is the sixth point. And the bonus point for today is what if your cluster is being hacked? I mean, how can you restore, right? So that's what the demo is all about. As an organization, there are a lot of backup vendors in the market, a hell lot of backup vendors, and we do come from this particular organization, Dell EMC, and we have a way to actually back up the Kubernetes cluster, all the persistent volume claims. So if there is any hack or if the data has been breached, at a click of a button, you can restore it from this particular console. And that's what the demo is all about. So in next few minutes, I'll quickly wrap up the demo. As I just mentioned, it's not sort of a live demo, it's an interactive demo, and you will certainly like that. And my friends are already telling me that I just have a few more minutes. Yeah, it's a stateful. Or whatever we are talking about is stateful. Because if it is stateless, I need not even be bothered. I mean, I can again lift and shift the containers on any given cluster. So this is a summary slide. This is what we were discussing, usage of use some of the virtual machine assessment, vulnerability assessment agents, ensure your storage volumes are protected with CSI drivers. And fourth point is integrating your load balancer with pod securities. And for your microservices, ensure that you use TLS and get it integrated within your application cloud, code as well. And your entire cluster needs to be integrated with AWS console for a common way of applying the policies, integration to IAM, so on and so forth, or even with the monitoring like CloudWatch. And finally, integrating that with the secured backup for all the persistent volume. And from the demonstration standpoint, let me get on to the console. Okay. So this is where I was just talking about, right? All the microservices are being deployed. It's in the running state. And this is the cluster IP, and it is using the specific port. So just to ensure that the cluster is up and running fine. And the next one is with respect to the power store. So this is where we have all the volume. So you can see that what is the size of the volume is being consumed and what is the protocol, for an example. And this is where some of these volumes is what it is going to get integrated with the backup appliance to get backed up on regular basis. And the third option, what we saw is integration of the cluster. So I have actually named the cluster as C4. I think Boomi was telling 4C, right? So I just quickly changed the name to C4 so that we correlate to the previous session, what Boomi was talking about. So this is a C4 cluster, and it is being integrated with AWS console as well. And these are all some of the pods running in the AWS console. Typically what you saw in the command line, this is not mandatory, this is optional. If you don't want to merge your on-prem cluster to AWS console, you can use Portainer, which is another open source UI that you can go manage, so on and so forth. Or even you can use the open source Kubernetes dashboard to see what's happening in the cluster. And finally, this is the application. And you see one of the sample record here. So somebody has already submitted a record to purchase socks. So let's see if this particular cluster gets disturbed and if we can restore that as well. So this is the Power Protect Manager. This is where the entire Kubernetes cluster is being scanned and it is able to discover all the components of the application. So let's resume the demo. It will hardly take a few minutes. So under the assets category, we have the this particular pod, which is sock shop. And the moment when I click next, it is going to show me the entire cluster information. You can see the cluster here, C4, it is trying to highlight that it is now part of the assets category. And we are actually protecting this. So the way that we protect all the persistent volumes is by defining these security policies at the cluster level. And for the backup, we have to create a backup policy. So backup policy will tell you how many times should I need to take a snapshot, how many times should I need to apply a backup policy and get it stored in the vault, so on and so forth. So we create a backup policy here. You can see the protection policy, it's getting highlighted. And the moment when I have, it is telling that the type is Kubernetes. And once I have the policies, I go ahead and kickstart, and it is going to get a replica of all the data in the backup appliance here. So we can see that there is a schedule where, every day try to take a backup. It's not every day. Even I can set it up based on my schedule. It can be hourly backup as well. And it will be a delta backup. It's not always the full-time backup because sometimes the cluster will be too high. So you can actually take a delta backup so that your backup time can be reduced to drastic extent. Yes, volume. Because the moment when you have volume, it is actually, indeed, it's indirectly entire cluster. But here in the language of backup, we say it's volume. Yeah. So here the policy has been created. It has started the overall data backup. We can see that the assets are also being allocated. And the moment when we do the overall configuration, we can see the summary and we can start initiating it. So this is where the jobs are running and we can actually see the overall status of the backup activity. And we can see what is the size that it is using, whether the backup is successful or not. We can see this particular status here. And now what happens is the moment when we go and disturb the volumes here, you can see that it is all getting deleted. So somebody has either attacked or I might have done some mistake in the deployment so that I have to bring down the cluster for an example. No harm, we can go ahead and restore it. I think this is going to help us in connecting to the backup appliance. So now I'm doing the restore. In the previous few clicks, I was doing the backup. Now I'm trying to restore. So I'm selecting that particular copy, which we call it like a snapshot copy for that particular EKS Anywhere. And I'm just trying to change the settings here and trying to do the original restore for the EKS Anywhere. This can be for EKS Anywhere. It can be for Anthos from Google Cloud, or it can be even Azure HCI from Microsoft. Doesn't matter. Any Kubernetes, even the open source Kubernetes, the same practices gets applied. And the next part is the moment when I click, it is going to say, do you want to do the restore at pod level or at the namespace level? I'm saying that go ahead and do for the entire namespace, and it is going to go and deploy. Yeah. So you can see that the restoration is happening, and that's it. At a click of a button, you are able to bring back the entire cluster. And if you go back to the command line option, you will be able to see the similar pods running. You can see the time here, right? The age is 16 minutes, right? You can see even some of the recently created pods here, which is 48 seconds, 7 minutes, so on and so forth. So which was deleted, now it's been restored at a successful fashion. So this is what the demo is all about, is how to take some of the security practices when you run the on-prem Kubernetes cluster, for an example, EKS Anywhere here, and how do you protect as an on-prem administrator all these pods, the data, so that your application is not impacted at a larger scale. And some of these things can be automated with tools like Ansible, Terraform, so on and so forth. So
I can see it is creating from L console, right?
Yeah.
Does it require administrator level access to the cluster? Of course, right?
No, you will be using the cluster as a Kubernetes admin.
Yeah.
But if I need to do
When
are
we are
restored,
restoring,
then I should be a backup admin, unless the backup administrator has given you an access. So that's where, right, I was talking about Ansible.
okay,
Nor
sure.
you nor the backup admin, you can even automate that.
That's time.
Yeah.
So since I see Dell page, so maybe from there, if you are triggering API, then
Correct.
API access.
Yeah, it's completely an
Plus-
API.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok. Any question?
Completely. It is completely encrypted at rest and also in motion. Yeah. Because the CSI drivers would do that for you. Yeah.
What if we want to use our own KNet system? Like,
You can. Yeah. That's a benefit of integrating the EKS Anywhere with the AWS console. So you can use some of the AWS services itself, though the cluster is on-prem, like CloudWatch, the KMS, or if you want some of the more points from S3, you can still use it. Yeah. Last questions? Exactly. That's what the Rapid7 or the vulnerability assessment management agent, right? Also with the load balancer console, you have to monitor that. It's not that the moment when agent that you are safe, you have to monitor. Is there any attack? Is there any vulnerabilities in the patching? Should I need to uninstall the patch? You have to. But certainly it will at least give you the single pane of glass to see what's happening across your on-prem cluster. So I know I'm running out of time, but I will be here till end of the session. If you need one more round of demo or any specific questions, just let me know or send me the details in the LinkedIn request. I should be able to answer that out.
Yeah, thank you, Raghavendra, for the wonderful session. Hey, team, before Yongkang starts the session, I would like to thank Chirag for his wonderful support in providing the identity and access management, right? So I also pass the mic to him to say like few words here.
Thank you everyone for joining, and it's great to see. So just want to share the story that since day one of my career, I'm in the cloud space, and security is number one ask, at least for me, because I'm into the sales kind of role. I understand the technical people, delivery people maybe come later, but security is a big ask. Until date, I'm facing the same kind of ask and questions, but now it's coming in a different way because market is mature, products are there, proven use cases are there, as well as AWS is giving a lot of things. So I see the journey of a customer when they were talking about the reactive method. To nowadays we are talking about the event-driven security architecture and proactive way. And I believe community is playing a very big role so that we all can learn. So this is my first time even I see this EKS Anywhere, and I believe everyone is enjoying that show. And hope near future we will work more around such new topic. And feel free if you want to share your learning, your experiment tweaks around on AWS platform, by keeping in mind as this is a security specific user group. So yeah, most welcome everyone. And with that, I would like to call Yongkang for his session on the container security. And again, thank you everyone.
Thanks, Chirag.
Yeah.
last point is, I'm not here to sell any of our products.
It was not a marketing pitch. Yeah.
All right.
You do something, somebody can. So always, you have a any topic, or if you have a any impact, is out there, very any POC, or please take it in. We do.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. Yeah, very happy to be here. My name is Yongkang here. So excited to be here. Yeah, join me to learn. Yeah, you guys love to learn. I very much love to learn all different stuff. So I did 4 times AWS certification, not many, but I did all Kubernetes certifications. By now I'm 6 times, security certified as well. I did not spend like 20 years, only 2 years. 2 years, I did the 48 times multi-cloud certifications. Yeah, I just keep learning. So most recently, I spent time to learn security stuff. I recently learned something new. That's why I'm sharing what I just learned. So first of all, I really want to thank our sponsors. So Rakuten and SECUG and CloudCasa. So the company actually doing very good. the guys focusing on the security. I will share a little bit more of CloudCasa. So that's today's topic: how to secure your containers via CloudCasa. And for SysTick, I'm actually, since the guys sponsor us some stickers and also the tissue, but I don't have tissue for everybody, but I do have 3. They sponsor us 3. So what I'm going to do towards the end, I will ask a few questions specifically about the SysTick. So only 3 should be able to get the tissue. And so everybody should be able to get a sticker or the CloudCasa phone holder. Okay, everyone can have one, but does not including iPhone. Okay, the iPhone is fine. Okay, yeah, we talk about 4C. That's, you know, my friend Boomi talk about 4C code security. If inside, and then you got containers, you need to make sure your container is secured. Where to run from a cluster, where it is. It could be from a cloud, it could be from your co-location, it could be from a corporate data center. So today, my focus is about the Amazon EKS and also AWS Cloud, how we can secure your EKS cluster, how to secure your AWS Cloud. So let's get started. Yeah, I don't want to really, at the end of the day, towards the end, I don't have the time to do the demo. So I'm going to do the demo first to show you guys how it works. Okay, then I can come back to give you some more details. So I jump to the, actually, this is my VS Code. I just created the EKS cluster. If you guys want to know how to launch an EKS cluster, so literally I just run one command. Can you guys see? Actually, where is my? It's over here. Yeah, eks-deploy. So in typically about 20 minutes, you will have an EKS cluster ready. So if you want to know how to do it, I created the automation. It's publicly available from GitHub. So the first one, eks-casa, I just created like 2 days ago. So if you go to, if you're interested to know a little bit more, there is all the code are listed here. What I did really is just log into the Cloud Shell, or if you could have your AWS CLI configured. In this case, I was using my VS Code. But if you want to do it from AWS Cloud Shell, you just log into the Cloud Shell, you change it to the directory. All you need to do is just run eks deploy. And the beauty is, I also have the CSI enabled. You guys are hold of the CSI, container storage interface. If you follow AWS documentation, most likely you will get lost. Seriously. So you will end up open dozens of different tabs, and then you don't know where to go. So I automated how to enable CSI driver. You basically just run CSI-enable. So within minutes, the CSI driver will be deployed to your running cluster. Okay, since I already have a cluster ready, so I'm going to show you shortly. Come back here. So the one which I really want to, I'm going to skip a majority of these. I want to show you. Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to follow me, actually, it's seriously so easy, so simple. So how to prepare the lab? If you have I guess most of you guys already have the AWS Cloud access. You just clone the repository, then you run the command. That's what I did, eks deploy. Within about 20 minutes, you will have an EKS cluster ready. Also have the CSI driver enabled. I also deployed the sample database, PostgreSQL, into the cluster. And then I'm going to show you is how to secure AWS Cloud and the EKS cluster. So I will be using CloudCasa. Also, you need to sign up a trial account if you don't have an account. Pretty simple. They don't even ask you payment details. You just put your name, your email address, and shortly you will get the email, click verify, that's it. Okay? Once you have the access from the CloudCasa web console, all you need to do is just add the cloud account. So in this case, I add an AWS Cloud account, and shortly we will discover all of your EKS cluster. And then it depends what you are going to do. So when we talk about the secure, the EKS Cloud, you got two parts to consider. Cover the containers, or you might want to secure the containers. So think about this: one single dashboard, you can do unified data production and the security. That's CloudCasa. Okay, so let me jump to the console to show you. Once you log into the console, so today our focus is on security. So how you can enable security scan via CloudCasa? So you need to install a lightweight agent to the EKS cluster, and then you just create a security scan job. So what does the security scan job do here? You can say, I want to scan my AWS Cloud account. I want to see if it's secure. Or I want to scan my EKS cluster. So it will complete the container scan, your configuration scan, and your CIS benchmark scan, or your network scan. So it's built in, okay? So I'm going to log into my web console over here. So just to show you, I do have one cluster is up running. I always love to use the latest one, so I'm running 1.24. Okay, if I do a refresh, another cluster I just created, I just run the EKS deploy, it's creating. So just to show you, I log into CloudCasa web console. So from here, if you don't have an account, actually it's pretty simple. You just click sign up. I'm not going to show you. It's so simple. Just a few clicks, you will get there. So how to add my cloud account? So from configurations, cloud account, you will see. I already added two cloud accounts. One is AWS, one is Google. They do support Microsoft Azure as well. So the first thing I want to show you how simple, how easy to add a cloud account. So you just click the link here, the button here, add a cloud account. It gives you three options. So in this case, I use Microsoft AWS as a, and all you need to do is click a launch stack. So if I click a launch stack, it will open new tab to give you the options. Do you want to enable this? Do you want to enable that? So once you complete all these selections, so behind the scene, just launch a CloudFormation template. And then we'll create the related rules for you to get access to the cloud. So towards the bottom, you can see, do you want to take an EBS snap? Do you want to CloudCasa to manage your EKS cluster? The beauty here, if you allow CloudCasa to manage your EKS cluster, think about the DR situation. You don't want to keep your DR cluster up running always, right? AWS will keep charging you. So once you get the access, when you implement your DR cluster, you don't have to keep the cluster up running. So part of my restore process, I will automatically to guide you to launch a new cluster before starting recover your containers. Okay. And then do you want to enable security scan? So once you enable, obviously, I want to show you how security scan works for AWS Cloud. I will enable all of these, acknowledge, and then click create stack. So it will create the related rule, policy, etc. Once you've done all of these, basically for this one, so you will see the cloud account will be showing active. So AWS for Yongkang, that's my AWS cloud account. And once I got the AWS account here, what you need to do is, by default, it will automatically to scan your cluster to your cloud to see how many clusters you have. You might have created some new cluster. You also need to scan your new cluster, right? So for now, if you don't want to wait, what I'm going to do is, let me show you the cloud. Click the cloud. See, I do have a cluster here, but that's my old cluster. I haven't do the re-inventory yet. So if I do the inventory, go back to the last step. run inventory, it will discover your current environment to see what cluster inside there. So if I click the cloud account here again, you will see, no, it wasn't showing here. Yeah, I got 2 clusters. So why to before starting my demo, I have 1 cluster. Now I was, that's why you see 2 clusters here. So which one is the one I created earlier? So the 7.6, that's the one. It's already up running. Everything is ready to go. So what I need to do is I can click install. I need to install lightweight agent. So how to install? You just copy the command, kube-control command. 1 command, it will deploy to your EKS cluster. If I go back to my VS Code here, just to show you, I do have a 2-node cluster running here. It's running 1.24. But if I do the namespace list here, I don't really have much stuff running here. So CloudCasa will also not installed here. So to install the agent, just run 1 command. We will install CloudCasa agent to the cluster. And shortly, if you want to monitor the progress, so I'm going to watch my pod progress. You can see CloudCasa just launched a Kube agent. It's a Kube agent. It is actually operated. And with that operated to launch the Kube agent. So shortly it will become a running status. Once it's become running status, you will see here, it will be showing status as active rather than discovered. Okay. Once I discovered the cluster, I installed the agent. You can start to scan the cluster. You can start to scan my cloud. Let me see if it's running yet. Not yet. It might take a few seconds. But now, any questions? So while we're waiting, question?
Anyone has any question?
So when the build pipeline executes, we do a lot of scans at the time, right? Static analysis, vulnerability checks for the containers, and also CloudCasa in some sense, or it.
I'm actually, I will show you shortly. Yeah. So right now you can see my agent is up running. Bottom of the screen, it is up running and it is in ready status. So now if I'm come back to the web console, you can see right now it is showing active. So that means you are ready to scan the cluster. You're ready to scan the cloud. So how to scan the cluster or scan the cloud? It's under the security. So from under the security tab here, you do scan the first option. You can scan your cluster where it is. Wow, it's moving too quick. Anyway, let me do this. So you can scan your cluster. You can check the scan history. You can scan your cloud account. But how to scan that? You can configure scan job. Okay. What I configured here is I do have a first task is to scan my AWS Cloud. The second task is scan my EKS cluster. So I don't have the cluster selected yet because I just created a new EKS cluster. What I'm going to do is select my cluster. I want to scan this cluster. So I select this cluster ending 7.6. And then in the meantime, you can also select scan your cloud. But if you want to split it as a 2 separate tasks, it is also doable. Click next. Before I click next, you can send an email to yourself once the finish how my environment looks like. So click next. You can schedule the scanning job. It could be running every hour or could be every day. It's up to you. And once you've done all of these, you can say, I want to run the job now. How long you want to keep the scan history? You want to check the history. How long you want to keep? So click save. The job will kick off to scan my EKS cluster. Okay. For the scan cloud, actually, I already had the cloud, so it's already there. So what I'm going to show you is go to the scan history. You can see my cloud scan job I finished this about 5:30. So if I scan AWS, you can see this is the dashboard to give you some high level understanding how my environment looks like. So for example, your overall score, do I have any critical issues? How many job fields part scan? How many tests in total? In the multiple tabs here, you can choose to say, I want to view this by service. Let's say app runner, there is a 5 job scan field. Why it is failed? You can click the details. So let me try to make it bigger. Is that readable? So the first one here, you can say you create the app runner service without using customer managed managed keys. So that's give you some idea how you can improve the security posture from your cloud. I just use this one as an example. But if you want to know a little bit more details, you can click the link. It will launch the documentation to give some idea why you should use the customer manager keys. Go back to the dashboard. There are some other. This is the first one. You can view by service, or you can view by the severity. So that basically to see how many critical. I don't any critical, but I do have some high 23 high severity. So for example, my MFA, how I can improve, because I wasn't using any MFA, so it gives you some idea. So you should use the hardware MFA to secure your environment. And again, there is a link. If I click the link, it will launch the AWS documentation. This is about the cloud scan. So essentially, you have more visibility, more insights into my cloud, so you can gradually improve to make sure your cloud is more secure. Okay, let me jump to another task. The second task is about the. You can also have the detailed view. But if you notice something is seriously, you want to correct it, you want to rectify, you can actually bookmark it. So you might have totally a lot of the different areas you want to touch. You want to fix it, but you can bookmark only the 5 most important ones you want to do it. And let me go back to my scan, cluster scan job. So you can see my cluster scan job. So this is the one was running earlier. Actually, the cluster was removed. Let me make it smaller. So if I go to the dashboard, somehow the job is still running. Let me see. So you do have the details, activity log. You can see how it is happening. So for example, initiate the security scan. We're going to run the security scan for your cluster. The security scan for my cluster just completed. So it takes about 4 minutes. So if I go back to the overview, it's just under 4 minutes. The scan for my cluster also. Go back to security under the scan history. It was a new job, just finished A23. So if I click the scan history, so this is my EKS cluster situation. You have more insights, more visibility. So for example, my container scan, how many scans in total, how many fields, and my configuration scan, how many fields, how many in total, and my CIS benchmark scan. So for example, here CIS benchmark, I do have 28 pass, but I do also have 76 in warning. So if you want to see what exactly in warning, you can click the details. So again, it will give you some more details how you can fix this. What do you guys think? So that's pretty much from the security. We talk about 4C, right? But the company, from what my understanding is focusing on the 2C. your cloud security and your cluster, Kubernetes cluster security. So to give you more visibility, give you more understanding of your environment. And not to mention, I did not touch the rest of the stuff. So the company also does the unified, what I say is unified data protection. So by default, it does provide the backup of the containers, do the restore. But when you do the restore, you don't need to have the standby DR cluster. It will automatically launch the cluster. But for the purpose of this session, I'm not going to spend too much time to talk about the backup piece. It's mainly the security piece. So let me come back to my slide deck here. Let's see what else I want to quickly to go through. Yeah, we already touched this one. So mainly focus on the 3 key areas. So how to secure my system access, how to secure my backup, and the last but not least, how to secure my data infrastructure. So my container, my cluster configuration, network, and also benchmark skin. So a little bit more information about Kubernetes cluster EKS. So we do container scan to cover your container image, your file system, your configuration issues. For the configuration scan, you scan your cluster-wide configuration, and also scan your ports, your controllers, etc. And for the network scan, your CloudCasa does help you to find the network vulnerabilities for your Kubernetes cluster. Last but not least, also using the standard CIS benchmark to do the scan of your cluster. Yeah, I already showed you the live, demo environment. I don't want to cover this again. So just to highlight, CloudCasa is here. You don't have to manage the backup. You don't have to manage the control plane because it's in the cloud, providing as a software as a service. You got your source cluster. You might have running EKS. You might have running any other cloud or on premises. It does cover all of these. You might use all different storage. So I mentioned earlier, when I want to say I was using Amazon EKS, the customer was initially running from Singapore. When Jakarta region is available, they want to move back. That could be one-time migration. I want to move from Singapore region to Jakarta. Doing EKS, so CloudCasa makes life a lot easier. So you don't have to manage the control plane. You just add your cloud account. I will discover all of your cluster. And then you can define a backup. I will do the backup of all of your containers from a source cluster and then recover to the target cluster. Even the cluster not there yet, part of the I will spin up a new cluster for you. Okay. And since we talk about the AWS, for customer running Kubernetes containers EKS, some of the customers still leveraging the Amazon RDS. Could be any one of the RDS database, like MariaDB, Aurora, MySQL, all of these. How to back them up? Do you have a common tool? While you are backing up the containers, could be running stateless or stateful. In the meantime, I also back up my RDS database. That's CloudCasa can help you not only take care of your Kubernetes containers, also take care of your RDS databases. And not to mention, you don't have to manage storage. If you choose the main from CloudCasa, but they do give you the option. If you want to choose your own storage, it's up to you. I think that's pretty much all I want to cover. Let me skip this. I already touched on this. What are the typical use cases for the security? For the security specialist, you might just focusing on the cloud security, container security piece. But for other customers, they might want to back up my containers, how to provide the full restore capabilities, how to provide the granular restore capabilities, how to do the clone capabilities. You might want to migrate containers from on-prem to the public cloud, or maybe you want to move from one cloud to the other cloud. Maybe from one region to another region. Maybe you want to move from different Kubernetes distributions. All of these are supported. Last but not least, you can simplify the upgrade and maintenance. Okay. Yeah, I just including a few reference links here. I will share you guys the slide. I know it's about the time, so I wanted to touch too much here. And I do love automation. If you guys love automation, I built the automation to cover not only AWS EKS, GKE AKS, Alibaba Cloud, and Azure Cloud, and also OpenShift. Yeah. Coming next week, next Tuesday, we have a Kubernetes meetup, but not here, at Alibaba Cloud. So if you guys are interested, join us. And I do Grafana to sponsor us swags. I do have Alibaba Cloud also sponsor us swags, and plus CloudCasa, okay, plus SECUG also sponsor us. Last one, I want to just talk a little bit of Falco. Is there anyone from Falco? Are you guys using Falco? Yeah. So I just want to, let me see, get bigger. No, it's a slide. Okay, so Falco is the cloud native runtime security tool, basically. So it does detect, it kind of like a de facto Kubernetes detection engine. So think about it, it's a security camera for your Kubernetes, for your cloud. Okay, so who created it? Open source tool. So who created it? It's by SECUG. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys 3 questions. All 3 questions are from this page, and SECUG are going to give three tissue. Okay, and how they do the scan, how they integrate with the Kubernetes or cloud. So for the Kubernetes cluster, you basically leverage the Linux system calls to see what's happening. And then they have the rules to detect if there is any abnormal, any issues. For the Kubernetes, they leverage the Kubernetes audit trail to understand what's going on from your Kubernetes cluster. For cloud, not like AWS, they have the plug-in to leverage the AWS Cloud Trail. You guys hold of the AWS Cloud Trail. And the same thing for other cloud, also have the integration. So that's why they're focusing on the security camera for your cloud, for your Kubernetes, for your Linux. Okay, so I'm going to ask 3 questions. So the first question, let me get the tissue ready. So the first question is, who created the system? Who created the Falco? Okay, that's good. So, what size do you need? Well, let me see if I have large. Actually, I do have an X large and a 2M. X large or M? Okay, thanks. Yeah, the next question is, what does Falco do? Yeah. All right. Yeah. M. The last one, reserved for Excel. Okay. No one can answer. You need an Excel size. Okay. So. Yeah, it is pretty easy. Yeah. So when Falco used for your cloud security, how it is going to integrate with AWS? Plugin, to be more specific, AWS Cloud Trail, actually. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to, actually Falco, also, that's something I just learned last week. So I did the Falco 101. It took like 6 hours learning. If you guys want to learn, just go to learn.sysdig.com. So if you guys really want to specialize on security, this is a very good tool. Yeah. I think that's all I want to talk about for today. Yeah, very much appreciate it.